Thanks to everyone for joining us down the rabbit hole. I'm Trevor Hall.
And I'm Calvin Zeljak. Let's get into it. Welcome into another episode of the Rabbit Hole Sports Podcast, everyone. I am Calvin Zeljak. I'm with Trevor Hall. How we doing, Trevor?
We are doing excellent. How you doing today, buddy?
Always good, man. Always good being on here with you. And then it's even better today. I know we just had a guest on last time as well, but we got another one as well. It is our man, Soren Gregory. We have known him for, a decade plus now at this point. It's been a while. But Soren, say hi. Rabbit Hole Sports debut.
Thank you, Calvin and Trevor, for having me. Super excited to be joining you gentlemen down the rabbit hole. And yeah, it's been crazy. That's been 10 plus years, but looking for another 10 more with you guys.
Absolutely. Maybe a little 10 by 10, 100 years more. Why not, fellas? I'm with it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. One day we'll look back at this moment and say, we called it right there. 100 more years of friendship.
I don't know if I want to live to 124. That seems like a lot. That seems like a long time.
Yes.
Well,
all right, fine. Separate discussion there. Sure.
No,
sure.
let's table that.
With medical
we'll
advances, you never know what could happen. So we'll see.
Word. That is true. I heard if you get all your vaccinations, that's exactly how long you live. So PSA.
Yeah.
Anyway, enough about COVID vaccines and political controversy and, any statement can rile up controversy this day and age because everyone's upset about something. But I'll tell you who's not upset. That's University of Michigan football fans like me and Trevor myself, because we got to see probably the greatest game in the history of the program over the last 20 years, as did everyone else who tuned in to the Rose Bowl on Monday. That feels weird to say, but I guess it's always on New Year's Day, so I guess it's always on a weird day for the most part. But Trevor, that was exciting. Michigan is not supposed to do this while we're alive. What's going on?
Dude. First of all, this is probably this might have been the best. I think for sure the best Michigan game I've ever seen in my lifetime, and one of the best football games I've ever seen. I mean, it had everything, dude. Like it was just coming down to the wire. We got a little extra football and overtime. Michigan obviously comes out on top, and I'm hearing people are saying certain people on ESPN that I don't want to bring up again because I got a little rowdy last time, but certain people on ESPN are pretty upset that Jim Harbaugh outcoached Nick Saban in this ball game. So yeah, I mean, it was a phenomenal win. I think in a lot of ways Michigan beat Alabama at their own game. I mean, they've just been so tough all year long, and I feel like every time I saw a highlight, it was with at least one, if not two guards pulling. Like they were just playing such like old school power O football. Like it was awesome. It was great to watch. And Blake Corum broke the all-time Michigan record for rushing touchdowns, which is badass. He's one of the greats in Michigan history. So
absolutely, Andy broke it on the touchdown that ended up winning the game. So a little exclamation point right there. Soren, I know you're a Texas guy, so maybe a little.
I think more than anything, I am a Texas Longhorn fan. We'll get to that a little bit later about my sadness. But talking about Michigan, I was very happy to see them win. I've always rooted for Michigan growing up, going back to my early days of watching college football. I can vaguely remember the game in 06 against Ohio State, but more or less it was always a fun rivalry to watch between and everything. But I was very excited to see Michigan, back on top. I feel like college football is always better when Michigan's good. And I just love seeing Alabama and Nick Saban lose. I know the feeling. It's a great feeling to beat Bama. But same time, like from every moment I watched of that game, Michigan looked like the better team. I mean, yeah, there were a couple of turnovers here and there, and there were moments of Alabama being Bama. And certainly at the end there, I thought for a brief second Michigan was going to kind of give it up. But I mean, that march down the field at the end there to send it to overtime was just it was vintage, just like great football to watch. And then in overtime, eventually just seeing Blake Corum, 2 touches straight to the end zone, that's all he needed. So, and then to see the downfall of Bama's, I don't want to call it curtain, but just dominance. I feel like this year, like you're usually so good against these very physical teams because they're the physical bunch. But
Mhm.
this year, it's been the same thing, I guess you could say, with like other years. It's like if you're a physical back at or at Bama, you'll definitely be able to like run the ball on them and take over the game, which is exactly what Michigan was able to do. So very happy to see that.
Indeed, as are me and Trevor, of course. What I thought was really well. Let's get down to that last play call because I know that was one of the things
Ooh, yeah.
everyone
Oh
was
yeah.
kind of talking about at the end. And I mean, you really go back and watch. Now, not being in the Alabama huddle, I'm assuming it was a QB draw RPO
Mhm.
where he can throw the swing to the running back who motions out. And so you go back and watch that play. If that snap's not low, and Milrow does indeed decide to throw the ball out wide to the running back. The running back probably walks in for a touchdown. Had a linebacker following him out in motion, and then there's the whole part where it, based on the blocking scheme, it certainly looked like he was supposed to kind of start maybe a little up the middle, but then take it to the outside. And Michigan had a guy coming off the edge, Mike Sainristil, who, I mean, Michigan blitzes the slot so much. It's
Yeah.
actually insane. But
He's also, I mean, Mike Sanders still is probably the best slot corner in college football
oh
right
yeah,
now. So
he's
just to throw
so
that in there,
good.
I mean, he's an absolutely elite player at that position. I know it's a little bit of a specialty position, but he's been awesome there.
Yeah. And again, it's the nickel is obviously there's kind of a broad definition because it's really just a fifth defensive back on the field, typically a slot guy. But I mean, a lot of teams now, because even in the NFL now, right? I mean, this trend really kicked up starting with Sean McVay. I mean, most teams are playing with 3 wide receivers on the field most of the time. So, a lot of the times people are playing with 5 DBs on the field, 3-3-5, 4-2-5. Those have become a lot more base defenses rather than sub package label, I guess you would say. Like we're almost at a point where, a 5-man defensive backfield is what base defense is. And then you kind of have your 3-4 would be like a sub jumbo package. And then you have your goal line under that. But anyway, point being, I felt like the play call, if the snap's not low, is actually perfect for what Michigan had on. The snap's low. Jalen Milrow freaked out and ran straight into the middle of the line of scrimmage, which was pretty much the only thing he couldn't do on that play. But with that being said, I think the difference in this game was quarterback play. And I think that's not probably the first thing people would jump to. And I'm not even looking at statistics right now. I don't really know what they are. I would imagine Jalen Milrow probably statistic wise probably outperformed JJ McCarthy by just a smidge. But
Looking at JJ McCarthy's stats here from the game. I'll pull up both of them just for games. For against Alabama, he was 17 to 27 for 63% completion percentage, 221 yards, and 3 touchdowns. And if you look at Jalen Milrow in this game, he was 100 and he had 116 yards passing, 16 to 23. Oh wow, cancel that out. Doesn't
well,
really
how
say.
much? Well, and then his rushing probably gets all, it's probably negative because of how many sacks he took. But he had some really nice scrambles. But
Yeah.
I think the thing that kind of highlights is, I mean, you can say, oh, bad snap. And yeah, obviously it was not a good snap. But JJ McCarthy earlier in the game gets a dog shit toss on a flea flicker from Donovan Edwards, makes a one-handed catch, stays poised, gets creamed as he throws the ball, and delivers a dime down the field.
Dude, that was one of the best, like the just like toughness in that play. Like that was truly one of the best plays I've ever seen a quarterback make. Like
Oh,
between the
yeah.
catch, him being able to gather and turn like the opposite way of where he was going to throw the ball, and then to just, I mean, he took I mean, Harbaugh was pissed. They cut to Harbaugh
Yeah.
and he was screaming on the
It was-
sidelines. He was so mad.
It was Dallas Turner, right? Who just
It was,
stuck him.
yeah.
Sounds like
Who-
Dallas. He's known for just the hard hit and for injuring quarterbacks. Let me tell you about last year against Texas, but we'll get to that later.
And then he declared for the draft immediately after the game.
I will laugh. I would really laugh if, say, Harbaugh leaves Michigan, which we'll get to, and he goes to the Chargers. Chargers, obviously, you cut Mac and Bosa, which I think they'll either keep one of them, and they draft. I would laugh if Harbaugh drafts Dallas Turner as a replacement as a result. Like I don't think that'd be the move there, but still, it'd just be funny.
The Chargers is just a whole other situation at all times. Oh my goodness. I mean, the Chargers.
Harbaugh's not dumb enough to go to the Chargers.
As a Chargers fan, still, I am rooting for Harbaugh because he wins the Natty. What else does he have left to prove while at Michigan? He brought the program back to relevance. He's owned Ohio State for 3 years in a row. He's finally brought a national title again to the team. What else does he have to prove? Another one? Like, he's an amazing coach. He's got to bring a title to the Chargers of all teams, hopefully.
I mean, if he wins a Super Bowl with the Chargers, he's just the greatest football coach of all time, regardless of level. I don't care what anyone says. And you know what? That honestly could go for anyone that wins the Super Bowl coaching the Chargers. You pull that off, you're automatically top 5. Automatically.
To overcome dysfunction. Yeah. Like that's
crazy.
Cool.
But I will say this.
Never forget, Calvin, quick side note. January 12th, 2017, we were sitting at the flag football meeting for Friday Night Lights. I'll never forget just getting a notification from Adam Schefter. Chargers are leaving for LA and looking at you. I'm like,
yeah.
Wow,
I remember that. We were getting ready to coach our asses off, have a great season, and then whole night got ruined. That's all right.
Oh, yeah. Exactly.
We got cool jerseys. We were Miami. It's all right. That team was so nice, and I hope all those kids are doing really well. That was a lot of fun.
Boise State,
mid. We'll say that.
Shout out Maverick, wherever you are. Hope you're doing well.
Yeah, shoot. I was at. I can't remember who LCC was playing, but I was at an LCC game this past season with Evan.
Friend of the program.
Right. Yeah. No, he's the face, actually. No. Gosh, it's really bothering me. I can't remember who they were playing, but doesn't matter anyway. Me and him were. This is gonna sound so weird. We were trying to figure out if he was still in high school or not. Mavericks. We were like, "Yo, how long has it been?" Because he was in like 7th, 8th grade at the time. I'm pretty sure that guy is graduated from high school, which is absurd.
That's crazy to think about.
Crazy.
All right, I mean, I love the reminiscing and all this, but I got to bring this back to Alabama because I've been sitting on it.
Oh yeah. No, keep going, Trevor.
And we always circle back. That's part of the rabbit hole. That's what we're here for. But dude, the thing that jumps out to me in this game, right? Like Jalen Milroe, he does what he can, right? He does everything he can. His offensive line really struggled in this game, which is typically, I mean, Bama's offensive line is typically the best in the country, or top 3, top 5 at the very least. But to see, who Alabama has on their roster, and I know that this may sound silly, but the guys who are the biggest playmakers in this game are not the type of talents coming out of high school that they typically are at Alabama, right? And I know that is,
Well, do you mean in terms of like how they've produced, or in terms of ranking?
I'm talking about in terms of ranking. So all three of them, I know that this doesn't matter a lot, but it matters a little when you're talking about Alabama, because all three of the leading statistical leaders of Alabama, right? So Jalen Monroe at quarterback, Jace McClellan at running back, and Isaiah Bond at receiver. McClellan's the highest guy out of that group, but all three of them were 4 stars. Bond was, number 72 on according to On Three's rankings coming out of his class. Like I said, 4-star Jace McClain, 46 nationally there. And then Milrow was the number 4 dual threat quarterback, 81st nationally. These rankings don't matter a lot, right? They don't matter a lot. It's more about what you come in and do and how you improve and how you progress, especially in football. They matter a lot more in basketball. But typically, when Alabama is elite, they have high 5-stars that they developed that already had more natural talent, and we're ranked number 1 and number 2 and number 3 in the country. I'm talking, you go back to like the Julio Jones days, guys like that who are freak athletes, elite tier, like 99th percentile guys. Alabama doesn't have the horses that they typically do, right? And I think it starts with Jalen Milrow. He's done not up to standard of what a typical Alabama quarterback has been in recent years, right? But also the supporting cast around him, I think, is probably the weakest we've seen in Alabama, maybe in Nick Saban's whole tenure. And it's, kudos to him because they're the number 4 team in the country. He lost 1 game to Texas, but this is the standard that we judge Alabama by, and it's not quite as high as it's been. And on the flip side of that coin, this is the highest standard of Michigan football that we've ever been alive for. So it's interesting to me, because when you look at the players, it's just they're not these big names that are going to go top 5 in the NFL draft. I mean, they have a couple of horses on defense, but obviously they weren't quite able to get it done. So
I definitely. You go ahead, Soren.
I mean, that was the point I was going to bring up too. It's just like, I think part of that argument or part of that discussion also has to deal with NIL. Like, I mean, look at teams like Georgia, for example, and their dominance over the last few years. They've become like the new Bama in a sense, as far as like recruiting wise. They're getting the 5 stars, the 4 stars, and 99th percentile monsters in a sense. And I feel like Bama, while still very successful, and it's still Alabama, it's still Nick Saban. He's also not getting the same, how would I say this, coordinators, coaches that I think even a Georgia would get, or even maybe Texas. Texas, you could say a lot of things about them, but they've been able to recruit well and play well in NIL. They're the number 1 team in NIL compensation wise. So I think that has a big part of it to do. So Calvin,
I think point, Soren. I think that's a great point that, I think maybe gets swept under the table a little bit occasionally when it comes to really talking about the teams, but it is, at the end of the day, maybe more than any other sport, the college football is about recruiting and what you can do with those recruits once you get them into the building. Calvin, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, no. The part that I definitely agree with is from a playmaker standpoint, offensively, 100%. There is no, Julio Jones, Amari Cooper, Derrick Henry, even like TJ Yeldon, Trent Richardson, Mark Ingram, any of those guys who were really leaned on during their really great years of their run. But this team still had the number 1 overall recruiting class in 2021. Whole nation out-recruited Georgia. And if my computer would keep up, I would have said the next one a lot quicker. 2022, they're number 2 in the country. And 23, they're number 1 again. So, overall, this roster is still as talented as any in the country. The transfer portal, though, definitely has made it so a lot more freshmen are moving out. So I definitely think in terms of retained talent from their recruiting classes, it's not at the same level, right? Because I think a lot of Nick Saban talks about this all the time, right? He's like, guys who are freshmen want to play, and it's like they don't want to stay here and compete. And I think that was such a big part of what made Alabama and really Nick Saban special, was that they were so deep on their team, and at a time where you couldn't just transfer out. Maybe, the first 2 years there, yeah, it feels kind of shitty because you're not playing, but you get to your 3rd year and it's like, shoot, I've been lining up against, Julio Jones, Amari Cooper, all those guys I just mentioned in practice for 2 years. This is no problem. So I think the bigger issue for them is that guys are having to step on the field before they're actually ready to do so. And that's why you see a team like they did this year, where they lose a game at home to Texas, They have some games against in Auburn. I forget who else it was that they struggled with in the
USF,
middle of the
University of
season.
Central Florida. That was a big one.
Southern Florida, Arkansas as well. Like there were a few games where they just really didn't play well. But then at the same time, they're still beating Georgia. And we don't want to talk too much about. I don't say we don't want to, but our aim is not to talk about regular bowl games too much. But Georgia just beat Florida State 63-3, and we can talk about opt-outs any day of the week. 63-3 is 63-3. I don't really care who's on the field. That's a murder of a game. So, I 100% agree that Alabama has to address some developmental. I don't even want to say issues, but I would say they got to adjust kind of their plans in a way. And I think Nick Saban has kind of started doing that, because if you look at the coordinator hire he made this past offseason offensively, he really could have gone out and, you don't want to say gotten anyone, but he picked Tommy Rees over other candidates. So I think that's someone he genuinely believed in as a coordinator. And if you really look at the style of offense he calls, it's a lot similar, or more similar at least, to the kind of offense Nick Saban was running back in like the A.J. McCarron kind of days. But they're running it with a mobile quarterback in Jalen Milroe, so they still do have that dual threat element to it as well. So I think it's, being able to retain players. Well, the solution is tough, right? If I had the solution, I'd be Nick Saban. But I think the bigger issue is not being able to bring in talent. It's being able to retain talent and being able to play guys who are actually ready to play.
And I agree with that. I mean, you look at, like, I was just looking through the recruiting class while you were talking about that too. And a lot of these players, you can name a lot of the big defensive players, Kool-Aid McKinstry. You can name like JC Latham, although he's on the offensive line. Dallas Turner. Like, these are all household names when it comes to the defensive side. But a lot of the talent on the offensive side, like, is Ja'Cory Brooks still on the team? Like, did he transfer out? Like, there's.
I definitely agree with that aspect of it, that the offense certainly has not brought in the same level of playmakers, and I can't think of what star rankings, Ruggs, Waddle. I don't know why I said Ruggs first, probably the worst one to pick. Smith, Jerry Jeudy, I can't remember what star rankings they all were. They had to have all at least been 4. I'm pretty sure Jerry Jeudy for sure was a 5-star.
I remember Calvin Ridley watching his.
Yeah, Calvin Ridley was so good.
His high school tape, he was a 5-star, and he was a man amongst boys going into Bama. Yeah,
so,
I mean,
yeah, the top end offensive playmakers are definitely not there. And I wouldn't, without doing a deep dive on who from those recruiting classes has gone in and out, it's hard to say exactly why that hasn't been, because, out of that 4, again, between Waddle, Smith, Ruggs, and Jeudy, I almost would guarantee a couple of them were, probably still 4 stars, but lower end 4 stars, and all of them developed into first round talents. So there's definitely an issue in Alabama. I don't know if it's major, because just in general, this is the most competitive year we've had for top end college football in a decade, at least my whole life, our whole lives. Like, when's the last time we sat down and were like, well, at full strength, I could kind of argue for potentially 5 different teams winning a championship this year.
Yeah, which is pretty phenomenal. And, just to go back to your point, because as you were bringing up, these different names and stuff, and I think Ja'Cory Brooks and Ajee Hall is another guy too who transferred to Texas. Those guys were both, supposed to be the next in line. And as I did pull up Harry Ruggs just because you mentioned it, he was the number 1 receiver in his class. Disappointing. Devontae Smith was the number 3 receiver in his class, but a 98, percentile. I guess you would call that percentile, like a 98 grade.
Their composite score or whatever it is.
Their composite score, exactly. He was a number 3 receiver in his class, and then Jalen Waddle was a higher 4-star. So it's really just, I mean, not that you could point to one position group or two guys and say, well, this is the reason they lost, but I really do think Alabama was one elite playmaker away from being right there, right?
Oh,
One guy made
100%.
play.
100%.
And, you know, it's tough because you can never say one way or another whether these guys make the play, but theoretically, Alabama reloads, right? So they would have been the next guys in line, but they were both kind of, you know, Ja'Cory Brooks certainly was really disappointing in Alabama, and Adgie Hall just transferred. I mean, I don't think it was, I think that was more of a playing time thing, but you know, I feel like once you go back and you really look at the recruiting classes and stuff, like you can see a drop off. I think it's pretty evident, and it's not a high drop off. It's a drop off that most college football teams would absolutely beg to have. But for Alabama, it weirdly feels like the difference in this game. And I know that, you know, recruiting and all that stuff, like most people don't really give a shit, right? Most people are like, just go out there, strap it on, play football, you know, whatever, like prove it at the college ranks. But I mean, I don't know. I think it's more interesting in this particular game than it would be almost any other one. Especially because Michigan's very, very good at developing talent.
Yes.
And they have
I mean,
also been excellent at retaining talent. They had two of the best running backs in the country in Donovan Edwards and Blake Corum, and both of them came back. So they have, you know, probably I would say one of the best backfields in the country, and have leaned on them all year. You know, Zach Zinter was a guy who came back as well, and so those guys who are committed to the program like that and having that like senior veteran leadership is really evident to me with this Michigan team.
absolutely. And Michigan, I think there is an argument that wouldn't actually be overly difficult to make, that if you're judging a program based on, you know, like the recruiting rank of the class when they come in, and then, well, what am I trying to say? The ability to consistently be ranked higher than their recruiting rankings would indicate they should be. Because Michigan consistently, as much as people are like, oh, Michigan's one of the schools that gets a bunch of 5-stars. No, they don't. Like, we're regularly in the teens in recruiting rankings, high teens. Like, an average Jim Harbaugh class is about 13, 14 in the country. And now we're regularly a top 4 team. And actually, if you look earlier in his tenure was when he was actually trying to go out, getting the Rashawn Garys, getting the 5-star guys. A lot of them didn't work out. Aubrey Solomon is one of them that definitely comes to mind very quickly. Kareem Walker as well. Like, there were a couple of really, I mean, even Shea Patterson. I know that was a transfer and not a recruit, but there were a lot of really highly regarded guys that Michigan went out and got early in Jim Harbaugh's tenure that didn't have great careers at Michigan. And whether it, you know, was top tier guys saying, you know what, we can't go to Michigan, we won't develop there, or Michigan saying, hey, you know what, this didn't quite work for us because of this, we need to go after this, and changing their approach to recruiting. I don't know. I'm not there, but what I can tell you is when Michigan, it seems like, made a decision, or at least a commitment, to just say, hey, we're going to go after the guys we believe in as opposed to the guys ranked the highest, they've corrected a lot of their issues, and you get a program, exactly as you pointed out, Trevor, that is a room full of guys that are bought in, and guys don't mind staying and taking less snaps because, you know, they're going to win a national championship. And this really ties into a big theme about our whole, you know, mantra here at the podcast, at the company, Rabbit Hole Sports here, is that a lot of sports, we get caught up in the, oh, you know, me, my team lost, oh, you know, yada, yada. And it's such a big thing in sports culture now to, you know, prioritize taking care of yourself, and really all culture, right? That's kind of our thing, that sports culture emulates all culture. But it's become such a thing to prioritize your own well-being. And it's like, hey, you're the 60th guy on the team. All right, let's take a step back. Let's stop complaining. All right. Are you in the weight room at 5 a.m? No? Okay, that's why you're not playing, bro. Are you working your ass off at practice? No. Okay. Great, right? And you say, all right, well, I got to do this to get this. And then if I do this, well, maybe I'll get this opportunity. Maybe I won't even get to play, right? But if I work my ass off, don't get to play, and then say, hey, I need an opportunity to play and it's not here, and I go to transfer, my coach is going to be like, hey, this guy's awesome. He works his ass off. And you're going to have so many opportunities as opposed to hitting a transfer portal. And the coach is like, you know what? If you don't play him, the guy doesn't give a shit and he won't show up. So, good luck. Right? Like, it's finding that balance, right? And you can still find a situation that works for you and be selfless. Like Michael Penix is actually the perfect example of that, which kind of works perfectly into moving into what we got to do next, or what we wanted to talk about next, with previewing the title game. But anyway, that's kind of my big sentiment.
Yeah. And I think it's a good time to move into the Washington Texas discussion. I think I'll start.
I want to just quickly cut. I'm sorry to cut you off, Sword. I want to make one more quick point about Michigan, and then I swear we'll talk about Texas football. Just really quickly, Calvin. I couldn't agree with you more on this point, and I think two things really spring to me when you look at the roster that they have constructed, right? So Cornelius Johnson and Roman Wilson, seniors who stayed, right? Ladarius Henderson was a transfer, but Trevor Keegan is a grad student who stayed. You got Carson Barnhart, grad student, Trente Jones, grad student, AJ Barner, grad student, Blake Gorham's a senior. And then on the defensive side, Braden McGregor, Chris Jenkins, Junior Colson's a junior. Junior's a junior. And Mike Sanistrell, who I think is the biggest example, not to just name a bunch of names, but I mean, this is a very senior team is the point. It's a very heavy, veteran laden team, but Mike Sanistrell is the perfect example of everything you're talking about. That guy came in and played receiver at Michigan as a freshman and was fucking good. He was a good receiver. He was a very good slot receiver. And for him to buy into the point where he's literally going to change positions because there's not really a huge amount of room for a slot receiver to operate and be good in Michigan's offense just because they're so power heavy. He completely bought in and plays the nickel, and now he's the best nickel corner in the draft and is a top 100 draft prospect based on pretty much anyone you ask. And that is really, I think, something to behold, that especially in the NIL era, that you can get this amount of guys to commit to a team, commit to an idea, commit to a coach. I mean, the theme of this year has been them sticking with Harbaugh. And a lot of guys could have came out and talked shit, said, transferred immediately, right? Hit the panic button and said, I'm out of here. I don't want to deal with this. I don't want to deal with that and whatever. And not a peep. I mean, you can hear shit except for we got this guy's back and free Harbaugh. And, JJ McCarthy is putting a sticker on his jersey earlier in the year, and they're coming out and throwing up the number 4 in the formation at the beginning of the year. I mean, that shit, I don't want to go too hard into that and whatever. And I think the whole thing's bullshit, but obviously, but my point is that this team from day one, like, they set the tone that they were going to ride or die with their head football coach. And Sanistrell's a great example of that. And their quarterback, JJ McCarthy, really was handpicked by Harbaugh to be this guy. And he is. I mean, Harbaugh put his chips on this guy was the Harbaugh quarterback. And when McCarthy was a freshman, when McCarthy was a senior in high school,
we were ass.
Michigan was not good, and they were calling for Harbaugh's neck. I mean, people wanted Harbaugh gone, and JJ came in, and they've built such a, I think, obvious relationship. You see them doing the high fives at the end of the Rose Bowl. It's very clear that there's a lot of love on this team and love for each other. And I think that in an era where there's not a lot of that shit's really important, dude. It's really important, and I think Michigan has shown that. So that's the last thing I wanted to say. I'm sorry. We'll talk more.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll move to Washington, Texas. But real quick, JJ McCarthy, Donovan Edwards. The year they committed, Michigan was 2-4 in a COVID season, and one of those wins was in overtime against Rutgers. So you know,
That's shaping up to be a good year.
Yeah, right. So, you know, it could not be more of a 180. And, you know, I even remember going way back, Donovan Edwards posted something on his story like the day after signing day and was like, hey, if you're not with Michigan right now, don't be with us when we turn it up. And he couldn't have been more right. I mean, so, you know, it just goes to show when you get a group of guys committed to the same goal in the same room and are okay sacrificing at times for said goal, because Donovan Edwards, perfect example of that. He would probably start on there's 136 teams in FBS college football. He'd start at running back on 133 of them, 134 of them.
Yeah.
Like, you know, so yeah, we'll move on. You know, me and Trevor will suck off Michigan till the end of time. So, you know, we'll get off the taint for a minute here and we'll move on. That was not the best choice of words. Anyway, that's all right. We'll recover. All right. Yeah. Washington, Texas. Soren, with you being the Texas guy, I'm going to let you get first crack at this one. And remember, we have the explicit warning on the podcast when you hit start. We don't have any sort of script. This is the perfect place for just raw, uncut emotion. So have at it, my man.
Here's what I can say. After being a very Texas fan my whole life, remembering the days of Vince Young, Colt McCoy, it has been a long 15 years or 14 years ever since when they sucked. I mean, just a very long time. This season was really nice. I was kind of like, we're actually going to go to the playoff, and we made it. I was shocked and so excited and everything. And after this past Monday, what I can say is I believe if we didn't turn the ball over twice and commit 11 penalties, I think we actually win that game. Look, here's what I can say. Washington's offense is legit. Michael Penix, dog, is going to like the fact that he's a second round projected pick. My ass, that dude he just dropped. Like, who was it? I can't remember who it was. Like, it was Joel Klatt who said, like, he just doesn't just throw up a 50-50 ball or whatever. He understands leverage. He throws a 60-40, a 70-30. And that's so true. That dude on the field money. Every time he dropped back and threw, I'm like, there's no way he catches this. I mean, it helps you when you have Roma Dunze and all the other receivers on Washington to help. Yeah, I think that. But I think their defense seemed a little suspect at times, which I think was hurting them. And Texas's offense is really good. I'm not going to say anything. It hurt that we didn't have Terrence Brooks because I think he really would have helped in that game too. I thought like Quinn Ewers started off kind of slow, but I mean, that final drive, like offensively, like the play, like his play, I'm going to talk about play calling here in a minute. His play was phenomenal. Really just, I mean, that throw down the right side to Jordan Whittington. I mean, you can ask my girlfriend. I was literally just, oh my God. Like, I can't believe he actually, like, that was like on the money. Although to some people that was an incomplete pass. My ass, that was a catch. I don't care. So I will say this. Washington from minute 0 till minute 57 was the better team. They committed the fewer mistakes. And really just, they had our number. It took literally their running back getting hurt for them to lose the momentum and almost cost the game, which I thought was a bit startling. I attribute that more to the defense really than the offense. Like, you should win any game when you score 37, especially when your offense is playing that good. But, in general, I'm very excited for where Texas is going. I'm not sure, like Quinn Ewers, he is planning on coming back from what I've heard, which is nice. They're going to have Terrence Brooks back as well, which will be nice. I heard he's going to stay for his senior year. I think they'll reload fine at receiver. I know we're going to lose Adonai Mitchell and Xavier Worthy, but no, I'm excited for the future of the program. But yeah, that was what I expected out of a college football playoff debut at Texas. I'm so happy we're past the days of getting excited over beating a not so excited Jake Fromm led Georgia squad in the Sugar Bowl and actually play for something big. So
Absolutely.
yeah, I have plenty more to say, but I'll open the floor to you guys.
Yeah. You want to go first, Trevor?
Yeah, sure. Sort of, I think you really have analyzed this Texas team beautifully. So I think, as a fan's perspective, I mean, that's a big part of, what we try to do here is, we don't like to cut that out of it. We like to bring that into it. But you're able to stay unbiased and really give some good opinions here on this game, and I appreciate that.
Yeah.
But you know, I think for Texas and Washington, like the matchup is just super interesting because it's really, obviously talent on talent, right? There's NFL guys all over both of these teams. Um, but I think the biggest thing is, it comes down to in a game like this, like you guys were saying, I mean, Michael Penix Jr., he's got a little more experience. Um, and Soren, I'm right there with you on him being, I don't know why he's not this. I firmly believe that this quarterback class is the best one we've had in maybe 10 years. I mean, it is so deep. There are so many guys who could bring different skill sets and, really just there's just so many, there's Michael Penix, obviously, who's probably a second round guy right now. Bo Nix is another guy who end of the first round, early second is probably the grade on him from most of what I've seen. Obviously, Drake May and Caleb Williams at the top. But even like JJ McCarthy, I think he's definitely an NFL quarterback. Um, so
I think Jalen Daniels or the kid from LSU.
Oh my god, yeah, I didn't even mention Jalen Daniels, who literally won the Heisman Trophy and should be a top 5 pick. Calvin and I were just talking about yeah, I'm not gonna talk too much about Jalen Daniels because that's Calvin's boy right there.
Yeah.
But dude, yeah, absolutely. I mean, talk about a dual threat guy, and he threw for 1,000,000 yards and 2,000,000 touchdowns. So yeah, but really, unfortunately, because I actually really like this Texas team, and I really like some of the guys that they have. I mean, Xavier Worthy, you're talking pre-pod. I kind of wish he went to Michigan, but I'm glad that he's found success. Adonai Mitchell, I really like him as a prospect, but also just as a football player. And Quinn Ewers, for all that he's been maligned, I mean, he really did a good job of kind of locking in a little bit, and he shaved the mullet, and he really started to I think show some real leadership traits at Texas. Um so that was, I was rooting for them, honestly. I really was. Not that I was rooting against this Washington team because they got just dogs over there too, so it's really just it was a great matchup. I think it's just awesome for college football that not only that Alabama lost because everybody's just sick of Alabama, I think just in generally, but also that we have two teams who, Washington represents the Pac-12 in their last year ever. I'll be rooting hard against them, but it's cool that we got not Georgia and Alabama for the 10th fucking time. It's cool that this is a a new group, new players who I think all really deserve it. And really, especially Michael Penix. I mean, that guy's been through the ringer. I mean, he tore up his knee and worked really hard to come back. And to see what he's able to do, and just the beautiful touch he's got of the football, dude, I'm really excited to watch him play on Sundays too. I hope he ends up in the right situation.
No, I mean, I just there's so many moments I'm watching this game and I'm like, can we get him? Because even when we're trying to rush him, he just keeps rolling to the left and fighting someone or making the right decision. Like, it's just so good. And his play was unbelievable. But speaking of Quinn Ewers, though, no, I firmly believed going into this year, I thought at some point Arch Manning was going to play. And I got both my fingers crossed right now because I'm like, I hope to God he doesn't transfer. Because I want to see another year out of Quinn. I thought he matured beautifully. I thought he really led this team in big moments. And no, especially going to the SEC, I don't really want a first time starting quarterback, even if it is a Manning. Look, I'm excited for Arch when he's ready, but I want Quinn to play one more year and see what they can do in the SEC. So it's an exciting time to be a Texas fan again.
It definitely is. And the thing I know I touched on when I was talking about Texas on this podcast earlier in the year was kind of something you mentioned, Soren, which was let's stop using, because this was after they beat Alabama, need to stop using one game to justify the program being back. Let's put in a full season of football and see where it takes us. And they did that, and they had a fantastic season, and Steve Sarkisian deserves a ton of credit. I mean, that man, even though I know he was the head coach at USC before, like drank his way out of a job and then has earned his way, not given, has actually earned his way, started as a freaking analyst at Alabama, worked his way back up to OC, has earned the head coaching job he has now, and earned that team a berth in the playoffs. So he deserves a lot of credit. That's a really tremendous story, just from someone who clearly had some demons going on in their life and said, hey, I need to be a man and address these and take care of my stuff and, be a guy's guy about things. And he was, and look where it gets you when you are accountable for your actions. That's crazy. Anyway, with that being said, Texas not being in this championship bums me out probably more than the next person, just because Michigan's O-line against this Texas D-line would have been so good.
Oh man, I wanted Devondre Sweat so bad in the playoff. Oh, he would have that would have been a matchup in itself. Like, I mean, yeah. Have fun with Roma Dunze. That's all I'm gonna say. Just have fun covering him. Because I knew the corners were gonna get eviscerated in first play. That little for Michael Penix was like 77 yards. It wasn't even to Rome, but it was just like, all right, like this is what it's gonna be like all night. So
the problem is Roma Dunze one-on-one against anyone in the country is automatically getting the football. And then you have two other guys who are very legit playmakers in Polk and McMillan too. So the Washington receiving core is hands down the best in the country. It's probably the best receiving core we've seen since 2019 LSU. Maybe that 2020 Bama team is probably up there, although that was after, I believe Judy and Ruggs had already been drafted at that point. But that 2019 Alabama team, very, very good. But this Washington team actually reminds me a lot of that 2019 LSU team. Maybe not quite as much of a run game consistently offensively, although I think that's probably one of the more underrated parts of their team is their run game with Dylan Johnson. But he got banged up at the end of the game, third quarter-ish, so we'll see if he's playing in the national championship. But again, this Washington team, I compare them to the LSU team just because, if I'm remembering right, the perception on the LSU team, even after they beat Alabama, was, listen, they're really good offensively, but you need to be a top 10 team nationally from a defensive perspective to win a national championship, because we never had a national champion rank outside. I want to say it's the top 10. It may even be a more narrow window than that. Up until that LSU team, which was 40th or something in total defense and won the national championship. And so I just feel like because of the way Washington is designed and they are an offensive leaning team, they probably don't. Well, at this point, I'd hope they're getting the respect they deserve. But really up until then, I mean, going into the Oregon national championship, Oregon wishes. Going into the Washington Pac-12 championship game against Oregon, they were double-digit underdogs. Like, that's absurd. That's absurd. I can't believe that was real. That's crazy. So, I can't remember the line for the Washington-Texas game. If either of you do, feel free to throw it out there. But I just feel like this Washington team really up until like this moment really wasn't respected the way they were. I mean, they literally beat Oregon and people were like,
they were 3-point underdogs against Texas. And I was kind of shocked. I'm like, this should be about maybe a 1-point favorite, if that, more like even. Yes, Texas has more NFL talent, but does anybody watch Washington football play? I watched their USC game. I watched their both Oregon games, and I was worried. I'm like, please don't tell me we have to play Washington, and we did. So,
yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. They definitely had a stretch during the, like, right after the Oregon game. There's a 3-4 game stretch where they weren't looking too good, but Man, Michael Penix has been awesome. I know both of you have touched on his prospect ranking in this draft, so I won't try to too much, but I think he sees the field better than any quarterback in this class. He has the most natural release of any quarterback in this class. If you can find this, I randomly came across it on Instagram and I really should have saved it. It's people have done it with Tua as well, but it's a flip of Michael Penix throwing, so he's throwing righty. It's the most effortless throw you'll ever see in your life. It's actually insane how easy this guy makes throwing a football look and just how well he sees the field. I mean, I can't tell you the last time I saw a decision from Michael Penix where I was like, huh? My grandma
Right.
could have read that one. What's going on? Like every time he throws the ball, I'm like, oh, I kind of feel like that guy over there is open. And then next thing you know, he's throwing to some dude wide open. And it's like, what? How is he doing this? This guy's eyes are always in the right spot. He understands leverage. That was something Soren pointed out. And he understands situational matchups, right? So, like earlier in a game, he may, or depending on the down and distance, right? He may not take a certain one-on-one shot because of said situation. But later in the game, he's like, all right, I can go there this time. He's just got such a great feel for the game, great ability to read the field, effortless release. I'll be honest, as much as I'm a Jaden Daniels guy, you could probably argue me into taking Caleb Williams, Drake May, Jaden Daniels, or Michael Penix #1 overall, and I'm not exaggerating about that in the slightest. I don't care, what experts out there would have beef with that. I'm 100% standing by that, and I feel actually fairly confident that both Daniels and Penix will, without question, be long-term starters.
Yeah, Calvin, I would definitely agree with you on that point. I want to circle back just quickly to something that you said to start that point, and then I want to talk a little bit more about quarterbacks as well, because I think that's a really interesting conversation and it leads nicely. But I'm going to step on my own transition here and say that Steve Sarkisian, I cannot pronounce his name. Sarkisian, thank you, Soren. This is why we bring on a Texas expert, folks. And so Sark, called him Sark. His journey, that you mentioned, I'm so glad that you brought that up because this is really a guy like his USC exit was not pretty, not pretty at all. Like you said, he struggled with alcohol and really went through a very tough time and it was pretty public and it was just there was a lawsuit involved. I mean, I'm not trying to dredge this up. I'm saying that this is what happened, and this man very clearly um actually was able to work his way back to being one of the elite head coaches in college football. And I mean, I think everybody falls in love with the redemption story as long as it's exactly, squeaky clean how America wants it to be, right? But I think that with anyone, everyone deserves a second chance, and I think that he is a great example of someone who really like you were saying, was able to take this and obviously got help, got it figured out, got it, where he had it under control, which is by no means, an easy thing to do. And addiction is a disease that he's, fought and it looks like, at least from the outside, overcome, which is fucking badass, dude. It's awesome. So I'm very glad that you brought that up. It makes me very happy that he has found such success at Texas, and I wish the absolute best for the Texas football program, not only for Soren, but also for Sark.
Soren and Sark.
Soren and Sark, there you go.
Yeah,
That'd be a good like 80s cop drama.
Right?
Soren and Sark. Yeah, no, that's good. I think for in general with Sark, like I think he has still some areas to prove. Who was it? John Middlecoff. Although I don't agree with all of his takes. He is he's like pretty negative sometimes on Sark. I think one thing he is right about is he gets a little pass happy, which was pretty evident, I think, at times when I'm like, just run the ball, we're cashing them. But at the same time, his journey is something for life. That
Yeah.
I've seen multiple family members of mine struggle with alcohol, and I've seen multiple friends do it. And just to see him, get knocked down to his knees and really like start from rock bottom, like you said, point out as an analyst with Bama. Like no one gave him an interview after like the whole USC firing, and then for Bama, then to the Falcons, then back to Bama, being the USC, and then being hired on by Texas. I always liked the move when we got him over Tom Herman, and I knew it would take a while. And when people were like, "Oh, why is Texas not good?" I'm like, just give him some time, like give the program some patience, okay? Like he'll be fine, which it's worked out well. So I'm excited to see the future of it. Real quick, though, I do want to touch on some of the play calling, or just like on that last drive, because that's what everyone keeps talking about is that fourth down or that first down little screen pass. I just never understood why he did that. And then the other times, it was strange. I'm like, Quinn Ewers has some touch. I was talking about it with Chris Finn, and he's like, he's got no touch. I'm like, man's got touch on a football. He's a very talented thrower. I just think he needs work on decision making every once in a while. But like, he can drop it and into a bucket, which I don't know. Like, I think in general, Washington just played the better game. They really did have a perfect game plan on offense, and I think more than anything for Texas going forward, it's just like they're going to play a lot of good receivers in the SEC. They're going to have to get better at corner, especially with playing Oklahoma down there too. So, no, all in all, like I think Texas going forward will do good, and I believe in Sarkisian. So we'll see what happens.
We will see what happens. I think Texas is in a really, really tremendous position right now from, I mean, obviously losing Worthy and Mitchell is going to be tough to do, but, Ewers, I'm pretty sure that's confirmed he's coming back. So, just that leadership perspective. And again, kind of tying it back to Michigan, like that's really the thing that took Michigan over the top was having guys who said, hey, $10 million, that's all right. I'm going to go play for this college again. All right, like who's 22 years old, 23 years old, and that's a rational thought to him.
Yeah.
Right? Like, that's awesome. So I think it's a really good sign for Texas that they got that going on. Granted, Quinn Ewers, where he'd go in this draft is tough to figure out. And I think in this next draft, if he has a really special season, because at this point, who's really in the discussion to be number one next year? It's really Shedeur Sanders, and that's all I got. So, where he goes next year when he comes out, I think that's kind of what this move is about, as well as he's going to have a genuine shot to maybe be a first or second round guy. Where this year, I think a lot would have to happen for that to be the case. But with that being said, we're ready to move into a little projections/predictions for the national championship.
Yeah, totally. I'm down.
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. Now, I'll say this. This game is either going to be one for the ages or it's going to be an absolute blowout. And there's no in between. And that's because these two teams could not be more opposite stylistically.
Mm-hmm.
So we're either just going to get two teams, blow for blow, kind of trading off what they do well, and it's going to be awesome. Or we're going to have one team that's clearly better at doing what they do than the other one, and it's not going to be overly close. But I don't see that happening. So, gentlemen, I think we're headed towards the best college football playoff in the history of college football playoffs.
You go ahead, Soren.
First.
Okay, yeah. Well, I will say that I 100% agree with you. I think that's the right way to look at this game. Is it is basically, just complete differences in like ideological football, essentially, which is super interesting, right? I mean, that's something that's going to be really awesome to watch. Is that, I think either way, Washington's probably the only, team. Well, probably not Washington or Texas. Honestly, I'm just so happy that Georgia didn't make it. But
that's a whole separate discussion we could have too, because
63 to 3 is still
like, how's Georgia not one of the best four? But then it's like, who do you replace them, or who do you drop out, right?
Yeah, I mean, that's what I'm excited. The playoffs getting expanded. It's gonna be a nice. Finally, we'll get some like well, no, we won't have the Florida States complain to the world or the. I feel like bowl games will get reinvigorated, but that's a topic for another day.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we'll get lost down the expanded playoff rabbit hole at some time, I am sure, and we'll try to stick with the natty right now because I got a lot of thoughts, so I'm going to redirect it just so I don't waste another 2 hours of our evening.
Hey, I got nothing going on, man. I'm hanging out tonight, so
All right, there we go. Perfect. Maybe we can get really lost in this rabbit hole. We'll turn off the lights a little bit, wander around, see where we end up.
Ooh. Spicy.
Right, that wasn't really what I was going for either, but that's definitely how it came off.
That's
That's
how I
what she
took.
said.
All right, everybody get back on track. I gotta tell you, like I was saying, I'm so excited for this matchup. Obviously, I will be rooting incredibly hard for Michigan. Pulled out the old Michigan ball cap from way back in the day. Going to watch it, grab some wings with a buddy of mine who's also a big Michigan fan. And
hell yeah.
we're gonna have a great time. But I really am just I feel very I'm a very superstitious man, and I am a little bit afraid to make predictions. But I will say, we'll knock on everything here. I hope that a sports team that I enjoy does well, and that's all I'm gonna say. I'm not no scores from me. You're not doing it. Go to other podcasts if you want the lines and the over unders and all that bullshit. This is old school paranoia over here, and I will not. I was concerned during the Michigan Alabama game at one point that I was wearing navy blue because when I was a kid, when I watched Michigan and I wore Michigan stuff, they would just constantly fucking lose. Every time they wore a jersey, they lost. Every time I wore a hat, they lost. And then I started, getting away from it and just wearing solid, but still doing the colors, and they were still losing. And it was stressing me the fuck out to the point as maybe a 14 or a 15-year-old that I was like, I gotta wear black, red, brown, something, anything, any other color that isn't the old maize and blue. So at one point when things were tight there in the third quarter, I had to think about maybe changing my outfit, but all prevailed, which is why I feel okay with saying that. I hope those boys do well, and I think they will, and I'm very excited for this game.
I never knew that. That was fantastic.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
That's quite the superstition. I mean,
Oh.
that's iconic though. Like, it's very on brand though with you, Trevor. So
Yeah, to the shock of no one. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
definitely had some very goofy superstitions when I was younger, and I can't even remember them right now. So
Yeah.
good for you. That was a great story. That was
Yeah.
great.
I like that. I'm going to go ahead and say I think Michigan wins. I think it'll be a close one. I don't think it'll be high scoring per se. Like, people are like, oh, Michael Penix will throw it over. It's like, he's playing a Big Ten team. He's not playing a Big 12 team. There's a big difference in the way your defense is run. I think if you could slow down and be physical with Washington on offense, I think that's where and also I think Michigan's D line will be able to get pressure on Michael Penix. That's the key.
Yeah.
It's a really good offensive line. I mean, Tavondre Sweat and our other defensive tackle, the two best in the nation, couldn't. They had a hard time breaking through. But, like, I think in general, if you're able to get pressure on Penix and slow down that passing game and not let them just throw the ball deep on every play, I think Michigan has a really solid chance of winning, which I think they will. And on the side of their offense, JJ McCarthy continued to do what he did last week and what he's kind of done all season. Play really solid, good fundamental football, not turn the ball over, not take any crazy risks, but at the same time, step up when needed. So I'm going to go ahead and say they win. I will follow Trevor. I really hate always predicting scores unless it's like a shootout. Like, if you had, like, for the Texas game, I knew it was going to be like 35-38, which it was pretty close to. But in this one, I really don't know what to kind of say on it as far as score. But I'm going to go ahead and say I think Michigan wins it. And And then Harbaugh leaves and rides off into the sunset to the NFL to become the Chargers head coach. That's my prediction.
That is not my hope, but I respect your prediction. I want to throw in a couple of things. First of all, Giles Jackson is either going to be thrilled or just horribly disappointed. Want to throw
I
that out.
forgot about Giles Jackson. Oh my
I
goodness.
completely forgot about Giles Jackson as well. So he, this is really a sliding doors moment. Borrow that phrase, but yeah, this is two roads diverging in the wood here for Giles
Yeah.
Jackson. But I really think this game is going to come down to matchups, as it always does. I'm not breaking any ground there. But the matchup that I'm really interested in seeing is Roma Dunze versus Will Johnson.
Yep.
I think that's going to be such a key matchup. They were talking a lot about Will Johnson in the Alabama game and how he matched up with Marvin Harrison Jr., who I think he had something like 5 catches, 118 yards, and a touchdown, which that's a great game for most wide receivers, but that's actually kind of containing Marvin Harrison Jr.
Well, he was also playing hurt through the second half of that game as well. Will Johnson was, not Marvin Harrison Jr.
Right. So that's the thing is that it seems like Will Johnson's healthy now. He obviously has the size, speed, all that stuff. He's one of the elite sophomores in the country at any position. So being able to match up with Roma Dunze, I think that's going to be really, really key for Michigan to slow this offense as much as they can. And I think two things with Washington. I think one is that their offensive line is a little bit underrated. They have a nice.
I'm pretty sure they won the Joe Moore Award this year for best.
Yeah, no, they did. They highlight that in the broadcast numerous times.
But I will say this:
that was a shit take from me, boys. That's my bad.
Well, no, I will say this though. Before I heard that, I hadn't heard Washington's O-line get talked about the whole season.
Right.
To be fair, they don't have like a Joe Alt or the kid from Penn State on their offensive line. Mm-hmm. So, no, not a shit take, Trevor, actually.
I appreciate that. Yeah. But the other thing I was going to say, and hopefully their defense hasn't won that many awards, but they have a couple of really solid defenders. And I think one guy that I want to highlight for Washington, and let's see if I don't just completely butcher his name. But Zion Tupaloa Fatui, number 4, their outside linebacker, really great side strength and speed guy, and is again one of the elite edge rushers in the country. So him going up against Michigan's left tackles, or depending on where they line up, the right tackles in general, that is also going to be really, really key. I think those are the two matchups that I'm going to be really interested in. And then obviously, like I mentioned before, the stylistic matchup, being able to control the tempo, control the pace, get your defense off the field in key situations and really, keep their offense off the field is going to be key as well. I think in general, I think the longer Michigan can hold on to the football in this game, the better. And that's obvious, but I think that can't be overstated. So.
Yeah, if Michigan does not win time of possession in this game, I'd be floored if they win. I think even if they do win time of possession, there's a chance they lose because time of possession just does not matter to Washington, really, because they're going for chunk after chunk after chunk. And then at the end of the game, they can close you out still throwing the football, which is just absolutely crazy. So, for me, the biggest thing beyond the time of possession is, again, what you mentioned, Trevor, with Will Johnson, but to me, it's just finding which of those 3 guys can he, for the most part, right? Because I don't think any of those guys can be totally taken out of the game. But which one of those 3 guys does he have the best chance to take out of the game? Because I think someone like Roma Dunze, I think you just got to throw 2 on him. And if Johnson's part of that double team, you're leaving one of those other 2 who are remaining single teamed against someone who's not going to be our best corner. So I think it'll be interesting to see if they decide to have Johnson following Adunze around. I think if that's the case and you're getting safety help over there as well, I think one of the other guys ends up eating a ton. So I think it'll be interesting if they end up throwing him on Polk or McMillan and are more reliant on double teams for Adunze.
I also think, going back to Washington's defense, I mean, like they have a couple other players I think that play well. Carlsbad Asa Turner, he's hard hitting safety. Trice, their linebacker, I think it's like Braylon Trice. He makes plays all over the field. Really stood out against Texas both this year and in the bowl game when they played in the Alamo Bowl last year. So kind of between those two players, I think see them to make highlights. I think that's just an interesting matchup to take into account.
Oh, definitely. I think for for Washington, the big tell is going to be the middle of their D line and then their middle linebackers. That's going to really define the game for them in a lot of ways because Michigan's just able to go, 4 yards, 4 yards, 4 yards down the field the whole time, the whole game. I have no fear about Michigan losing. That will run away with it at that point. And so I think that's the issue if I'm Washington. The issue I'm trying to address is the fact that, again, our best playmakers right now are a safety and an edge guy. We do have a good middle linebacker, but the middle of the D line has been kind of hit or miss at times. So, are they adding extra guys to the box to stop the run? Because we've seen teams do that before. Throwback 2022, Michigan, Ohio State. And all of a sudden you're getting one-on-ones. Like that's kind of, I think, the underrated sneaky part with Michigan's guys is one-on-one. We got guys who can create separation, actually. And even though it's not a deep list of guys who can do so, Cornelius Johnson and Roman Wilson have played a lot of football, and they're really skilled players and really smart players as well. So if Washington gets aggressive in the box to stop the run, I think we still have enough to get over the top on them. I think J.J. McCarthy now has played in enough big games, both poorly and well, to feel comfortable in what he's going to do. And I mean, quick side tangent, the TCU game last year, I think needs to be reevaluated as to whether that was a bad performance because he had 395 total yards and 3 touchdowns. But whatever, we'll get into that discussion later. Anyway, if Michigan's controlling this game time of possession wise, that probably means they're running it right down the middle on Washington, and probably won't be a super entertaining shootout kind of game if that's the case. But again, Michigan bring who the fuck can speak English? Jesus. Bringing that TCU game back from last season, we saw what happened when kind of a high scoring offense, electric offense gets out in front. They're not used to playing in that kind of game. So if I'm Washington, I'm taking the football first. I'm dialing up the best drive I've had all season, and I'm trying to score within the first 3 minutes of this game. I'm trying to make it ugly, quick. I'm trying to get in the end zone quick. I'm bringing heat right away on defense, and I'm pretty much backing off after there. If Washington can get a 14-point lead in this game, it's going to be hard for Michigan to come back from that. But if Michigan can control it out of the gate, they'll be fine.
Yeah, no, I think that's a great breakdown of this matchup in this game. And like you said, it may not be the most entertaining game, depending on who dominates in that way. If Michigan can really run the ball up the middle. God damn, I wish Zach Center was playing in this game.
Right.
I just that bums me out to no end. Yeah,
I'll give a score prediction though.
All right, let's hear
it. Who I think. Well, okay, I'll give 2 different types of score predictions. I think if Michigan wins the game, it's like 27-23, 27-24.
Yeah.
If Washington wins the game, it's going to be like 41-31.
Mm-hmm.
Like a 45-38 maybe.
Right. So, Washington wins a shootout. Michigan wins a time possession grind out type game.
Yeah. I don't think we're going to get like a 10-7 or anything. I don't think Washington's defense, granted, I know we just listed, really, you guys, I don't know this shit. You guys listed the playmakers they have on the defensive side of the ball, and it's just not a long list of guys. And I'm not trying to say their defense is bad because they showed they can make stops when they need to against Oregon and against Bo Nix. They made enough stops against Texas, forced enough turnovers against Texas. So I think the last thing Michigan can do here is overlook the defense. But I think if Michigan shows up playing their best game of football, I don't see Washington shutting down Michigan's offense. And Washington's offense is just too good to be shut down in my eyes. Like a shutdown of Washington's offense is what, 20 points? That's
Yeah,
like a huge moral victory, regardless of outcome.
100%. Yeah, you played a damn near perfect game versus Washington if you didn't surrender more than that.
Yeah. So it'll be fun. It'll be fun. But, well,
Yeah.
no, it won't, because I'll be pooping my pants the entirety of the game.
Yeah, I'll
So
be strong. I'll be sweating.
that's really
That's
just
where
kind
I'll
of
be.
hitting me.
That's where I'll be enjoying the game. Just like, another team is in this. So
See, because that's been my mentality the past 23 years of my life for the national championship. I'm just sitting around watching a football game. Now I got to care about it. This is a different beast.
Yeah, I'm gonna be drenched in sweat. I'm gonna be very concerned. I'm gonna be watching every play with close to doing all sorts of different things with trying to not vomit, that kind of thing, trying not to cry, and just really just try to keep my body together
Yeah.
during this game.
Keep a
I
couple
think
brown bags with you.
yeah, maybe a little juice cleanse pre-game. Probably start that, tonight or tomorrow if
maybe a
fall
trash
goes to
bag
plan.
next to you or something like that.
There we go.
Yeah, exactly.
Excuse me, can you guys just bring the trash can just right next to me all night? All right. And if my face is in it, don't check on me. I'm good. This is expected. It's fine.
It's like oh God. Hang on, I'm trying to pull his name. You're gonna the Raiders receiver with the stickum. Who am I thinking of?
Oh, Lester Hayes.
I'm thinking of the other guy. Yeah, Lester Hayes.
Lester is the corner. There was Fred Biletnikoff.
Branch.
Trevor and
No?
Calvin, right?
Yeah, I think it was Cliff Branch or Fred Biletnikoff. Maybe
Pretty sure
both.
it was Cliff Branch.
Now I think Fred he was a white guy. So that was
Fred
Fred.
Biletnikoff was a white guy.
Right, yeah. Okay. I don't know if you guys have heard the story, but he used to intensely vomit, which is, maybe this is not the best podcast fodder, but he used to throw up before every game. He would get super nervous, freak the fuck out. He'd be puking, and other Raiders from that era would say, like, if Fred was puking, we knew we were ready to play the ball game. Like he would not play a football game without throwing up. So that's just a little side tangent there. People prepare in different ways is my point, I suppose, but it's not the best way. Let's try to avoid that.
I mean, what? It's Marshawn Lynch that said he's taking a shot of Hennessy in the locker room. So, everyone's got their rituals.
Have you ever heard the Tony Kukoc one? No,
Oh, gosh. Well, he's Croatian, so it's probably not pretty.
So Steve Kerr, he told this story on Open Court. I just rewatched it a couple days ago. Not to completely shift gears, but it's semi-related. They're talking about pregame meals, right? NBA players being really suspicious, and Steve Kerr goes, "Yeah, I went out when I was on the, I think, well, it wouldn't have been, yeah, late '90s Bulls, right? So those Bulls championship teams with Tony." And he was like, "Yeah, I went out before the game one time with Tony Kukoc, and I grabbed a meal." And it was like Kukoc ordered spaghetti pasta with the meatballs and everything, and then he had this whole sort of bread, this big like kind of heavier salad dish, and then he had like a whole like second entree, and had like some tiramisu or something like that for dessert, and then a cup of coffee. Like it was just this fucking massive meal.
The
right?
cup of
Like,
coffee hit home so hard, dude. My grandpa, who emigrated over here from Yugoslavia.
Yeah.
Dark coffee all day long. Decaf dark coffee. If you're like, I drink decaf dark coffee now for pleasure. That's how you know you're from Eastern Europe. You just drink shit for fun.
I do love dark coffee, but there needs to be caffeine in there. I was just drinking dark coffee at the beginning of this.
There you go.
Yeah. I love a black coffee. I feel like if you don't drink black coffee, why are you drinking it? You're putting all this milk, sugar, and cream in it. Come on, it's coffee. It's not supposed to be good. It's fuel.
Maybe if it's a weekend, you want a little dessert, you throw the little Coffee Mate French vanilla in there, just a little special. But no, every morning I need it black. Wow, don't take that out of context.
Okay. All right.
We love a good. I will say them. There's nothing quite like an espresso martini, even though it's not coffee. Still,
Well, do they put any real espresso in there?
yeah, typically,
Okay. Yeah.
yeah.
Then,
Like you
yeah.
get, I mean, like a real actual made espresso martini will have the espresso. It will be equal parts espresso, Kahlua, and vodka.
Okay. All
Yeah, with
right.
the beans, of course. So,
Or like Irish coffee.
Ooh, love a good Irish coffee. That's just
uh,
that's a working man's espresso martini right there. Is what that is.
For
It's
real.
just
exactly.
I will say one of my good friends who's a bartender. She said that I asked her what the most annoying thing that people order is, and she said espresso martini, and I was like, that sucks because they're really popular. She was like, yeah, it's not great, and then she soon after quit that job. So that's
Well,
People in particular, like, I mean, I'm part of this too. It's like I hate when you go to a place and get like an espresso martini because they're like fucking $15, $16.
yeah,
And
not
it's a pre-made or like fucking like pour one. No, it's like, no, go get an espresso machine, go get a fucking some Kahlua and get some vodka. Like,
yeah.
it's like how
I
many times
literally
I go to a
just
place,
paid you half your hourly salary.
I'll literally like, no, me and my girlfriend will literally go to a spot and they'll be like, oh, espresso martinis, order them and they're shit. And we're like, what the fuck? We'd have had a fucking beer that's like half the price instead.
Yeah. Disappointing.
All
Very
right,
disappointing.
real quick, let me finish it. I didn't get to the point of my Tony Cuckoo story.
Oh yeah, shit. We just started talking about coffee.
I will say, gentlemen, I do have to head out right now. So,
Soren,
all good.
I will tell you the end of the Tony Kukoc story later. It was a pleasure having you on, my guy.
hey, I'll be around for another episode soon. Like, I don't have classes for another few weeks, so let's get another one in the books.
Beautiful.
Sounds
We'll put it on the
Let's
books.
do
We'll
a
get in the
let's
chat.
do a playoff NFL playoff and also reaction to the championship.
Hell yeah.
Very down.
A little preview, folks. I love this.
Let's do a preview and a review.
Of course. Well, thank you as always for having me on, guys, and I'll catch you soon. Thanks for letting me come down the rabbit hole with you.
Of course, Soren. Take care, man. We'll see you soon.
Peace.
All right, I got to finish the story. If you don't mind, if we're gonna catch back on here, we could continue just for another minute or two if you got the time, buddy.
Of course, yeah. Go for it.
Okay. So Steve Kerr, we're circling back here. We're talking Steve Kerr. He's telling the story on open court. Tony Kukoc is eating this giant fucking meal, right? He's got the pastas, he's got the breads, the salads, all the stuff. And he drinks the coffee at the end of the meal. And Steve Kerr's looking at him just in shock and horror, and he's like, "Dude, what is going on here? How are you eating this much pregame? Like you're gonna be sick." And Tony Kukoc goes, "In Europe, this is how we do it in Europe. Okay, so in Europe we take big meal, we drink coffee, we take big shit, and then we play game." And Steve's like, "All right, that's and it works for him. It worked for him. So yeah,
That's what the coffee's for. Then
that's what the coffee's for. Exactly.
Just work it right through the system. No way.
I think that is actually why like when people started doing like coffee and dessert, I think that's actually why that was like became a thing.
Interesting. To make yourself shit.
Yeah, which is crazy. You'd never think.
Wild. It's crazy that we got this rabbit hole to talking about why we're pooping.
Yeah,
That's unreal.
You never know which way you're gonna go, but
Right.
but still kept it sports, which I'm proud.
Exactly. Well, another European guy with a crazy ritual. I don't even know if it was a ritual, but I saw a podcast that Mike Bibby was on. Who, if you haven't seen the pictures of him, wow.
Oh man, he's jacked.
Yeah, wow.
That man is jacked up like a pickup truck at a conservative state. Sorry, I don't know. We'll move right on. Maybe
I could tell you didn't have anything off your dome, and that was absolutely fantastic where it wound up. So I want to give you credit for that.
I appreciate it. Maybe we'll keep it in. We'll see. It's up to
Right. He was saying, Mike Bibby was saying on this podcast, he was talking about back when he was on the Kings, those early 2000s Kings.
you.
He was saying Vladdy Divac used to just be smoking cigarettes in the team bathroom.
That is probably. I don't think I could think of an NBA player more. Like how am I trying to phrase this? There's no action that you could take as an NBA player that would match who I think you are more than Vladdy Divac smoking cigarettes pregame. That
Right.
just makes all the sense in the world. There's nowhere else. I mean, like Shaq having a big dick, no,
Sure.
doesn't even come close. Doesn't even come close. You know, I mean, it's just Dirk's fadeaway, Kareem's hook. No, it's Vladdy smoking cigs.
Yeah.
It's Vladdy smoking cigs for sure.
Oh, so great. So great.
Yeah.
Because, I love the picture of Len Dawson smoking a cig at halftime of
Mhm.
Super Bowl I. But to think, like, what, early 2000s, this dude was just ripping cigs in the bathroom?
Yeah, I mean,
Unbelievable.
what is going on?
Unbelievable. And
Yeah.
then went out and was like shooting threes at like 7 foot. Like, what's going on? You know why? Probably couldn't get all the way back down under the rim. So I'll spot up.
Yeah, I'll spot up. I'll chill
Yeah.
here. I'll let my lungs rest a little, and
Yeah.
we'll get it going.
Save myself a few steps heading back the other way. We
There
get
you go.
one more point. It's a win for everybody. Come
You
on.
know, birth of analytics was because of slow big guys. That's
That the secret.
Mhm.
Secret we haven't uncovered.
Yeah.
Yes. It was one day Mike D'Antoni was over coaching in Italy, caught his best player smoking a cig. He had 2 packs instead of 1 that day.
Yep.
He was running down the court. Mike D'Antoni was just like, you know what? Spot up. Just spot up.
Yeah.
Guy started drilling threes.
Yep.
Rest is history. Next thing you know, we have the 04-05 Suns.
There you go. There you go.
That's how it goes.
That is how it goes. That is completely accurate. No one fact check it, and it's all good.
Yeah. No need to fact check. Yeah.
No.
Don't do that. No.
No, that's not
Yeah. Listen, if there's anything I've learned in my time in America, it's that if you hear it or read it on the internet, it's factual, right?
100%.
Yeah. Everything. Every single thing.
Yeah, we all know that.
Yeah. If your parents say it to your face, though, of course, get angry, right? That's how it works.
Right. Question. Question authority. But believe all authority that you have no idea where they're from or what they believe, or if they're even a real human person. Yeah.
Exactly.
Whole sports. Well, what do you think, man? Is there anything else you want to cover or discuss in this this here episode? Are we gonna do some random players? Are we not quite ready? How are you feeling?
Discussion wise, I have gotten everything out I need to, unless there's anything specific you want to touch on college football wise. I mean, Florida State, that's tough. You got left out.
Yeah,
we'll leave it there because I actually could really go in on Florida State, and I'm gonna try not to. So
yeah, I have some opinions on them too, specifically about like what they're doing with the ACC right now and all that shit. I mean that's a little bit more water cooler talk around this part of the country here, but
yeah, because you are an ACC country. I forgot.
that is true. Yeah, so but we'll save that for a different day for sure. That's a longer conversation. So let's do some random college guys. I guess random NFL too. How are we feeling about that? Maybe do a couple.
Oh gosh, that is a good question. I know we did football last time, but if we want to keep a theme of episode, we can do football. But I'm also down to do basketball. Or what if we picked? All right, we're spitballing here, people. So this will get really edited down by the time you hear it. Okay. Let's do something like we'll pick. Should we do like random All-Americans or something? Like pick an All-American team and see if we can figure out who the wide receivers were or some shit.
Ooh, that sounds cool. Yeah, let's do it. A little different spin on this. I like it. Yeah, I think probably next pod we'll do a little more basketball centric. And I also, just if anybody's listening or happens to want to read, the NBA blog is on its way. It is wrote the intro for that today. Get that bad boy edited, and we're gonna do some cool stuff. I'm really excited about getting some of my blog work up there as well. We'll have to talk hoops for sure. Yeah,
absolutely. And I'm excited for the blog as well. We're really adding to the website. We're in the midst of little insider information here. We're in the midst of a little bit of a rebrand. We're gonna change up the color scheme, make things fresh. By the time you're hearing this, we may have already done it, so you may just be like, are you kidding me? You're doing that shit again. No, we're not doing it again. If we already changed the colors by the time you're hearing this, it's done. It already happened. Don't be expecting anything else. But we are in the works on some stuff here, and the basketball blog is one of them, and I'm very excited for it. I always love hearing Trevor's basketball knowledge and wisdom. It's always as good as any you will find anywhere.
Well, I appreciate that, buddy. That means a lot. You want to talk some All-American teams though? You want to get into this?
Let's do it. Wow. Okay. I'm looking at the 08 team. This is phenomenal.
Okay. So what are we doing here? Am I trying to name as many players from the All-American team as I can? Is that the idea, or what are you thinking? You want to give me one position? You want to give me a couple? Or what do you think?
Why don't I? Because there's a lot of ways we could really do this. I mean, this is like just a gold mine of what we need to just start looking at All-American lists, because these were all the random players are.
Yeah,
but,
dude. Honestly, I pulled up the '97 team. There's some guys on here that like I have specific memories of, but they couldn't be more random to I think pretty much anyone.
Right. Okay. Why we'll go position by we'll do a position for the said team we've chosen.
Okay.
And yeah, shoot. What if all right, because there are 5 total names on this list. What if I listed out the 5 schools? Although that may make it too easy.
Let's try it. Let's try the 5 schools.
All right, I'll do the 5 schools. We'll see if you can get it. So 2008 All-Americans at the quarterback position.
Okay.
The first school is Oklahoma. The second school is Texas. The third school is Texas Tech. The fourth school is Georgia. And the fifth school is Florida. So I guess every good quarterback in college football this year was playing in a southern state.
That's crazy. Okay. So let me see here. So Georgia, Matthew Stafford.
Absolutely.
All right. 08. Is Vince Young in the NFL at this point? He is, right?
Yes.
Yeah. No, that makes up, because I think he was actually on the cover of Madden 07 or 08.
Madden 08, he definitely was. Absolutely.
That was the first Madden I ever got. Shout out to Vince Young. No, you know who? Colt McCoy.
Yes, sir.
Okay, there you go. We got Colt McCoy. We got Texas Tech is an interesting one.
Well, I loved this era of Texas Tech, but if you weren't a Mike Leach diehard, this is definitely a hard one.
Yeah. I didn't get into Mike Leach until later.
Yeah. He is. Oh goodness, I want to say he's the offensive coordinator at Wisconsin. No.
All I can think of right now is Leonard, that white safety. He played for the Jets for a while. That's the only thing. It's obviously Jim Leonard. Oh boy. Okay.
For Purdue, he's the offensive coordinator for Purdue.
That's not super helpful. I'm going to be real honest.
Right.
Okay, let's go to what are the other schools I'm missing here?
All right, Texas Tech, obviously, and then it's Oklahoma and Florida are the other two. 2 Heisman winners. The Texas Tech one is not a Heisman winner, but the other 2 are Heisman winners.
Oh, Tebow.
Yep.
Okay, and then Sam Bradford.
Absolutely.
Okay, there you go. So it's really just a Texas Tech guy.
And to be honest, I don't even know how much the name would even.
Did he have a cup of coffee in the NFL, anything like that?
Not really. He went undrafted in 09, spent a year in Canada. I guess was a backup on the Packers from 2010 to 12. So I guess, well, hold on. That would make him a Super Bowl champion, actually. Yes, absolutely. He is a Super Bowl champion on the 2010 Packers. And then he was on the Jets offseason and or practice squad. I'm assuming he just got cut in the preseason. But
yeah.
So not really. He was definitely never starting.
I don't know. I do not know Texas Tech.
Graham Harrell.
I would not have gotten that, but I do remember the name.
Unreal. I'll always have the Graham Harrell to Michael Crabtree play stuck in my brain. Unreal. Good times.
Michael
Also,
Crabtree.
Crabtree would have had to have been an All-American as well this year at receiver, obviously. No. Also, real quick, can I just read off the All-American running backs?
Oh, please, please. The running backs are so interesting on these.
Sean Green.
Okay. He played for the Packers too, right?
He may have at one point. I mainly remember him as a rookie being on that Jets team that knocked the Chargers out of the playoffs in 09.
Oh.
Yeah, he had a long touchdown run and then had like a game clinching run later. He went off on us. Nate Kading couldn't kick to save his life. You all know the story, right? I've probably said it before on this show in a state of passionate delirium.
Yeah. I
Okay,
remember
Sean
Green because he was a big power back. That he was
Yeah.
kind of like the this is kind of earlier Chargers, but like the Mike Turner to LT a couple years
Yes,
earlier. He was very much the power guy.
that was such a sick duo.
Oh my god, dude! The Chargers running that. God damn it! God damn the Chargers running. We had Darren Sproles and LT like both in their.
Well, I mean, even 2006, we had LT, Turner, and Darren Sproles, same team.
Yeah, Gates, B-Jax, Michael Floyd was good. We had a great offensive line, elite offensive line. Nick
Marcus
Hardwick was the best
McNeil
center in the
was so
NFL.
nice. Yeah, Nick Hardwick. And the D line was really good too. Igor Oshansky, Jamal Williams. I'm blanking. Sean Phillips was an edge guy. Him and Sean Merriman were the edge guys.
Right,
and then Donnie Edwards, who not like a run stuffing linebacker, but a brilliant, like he'd be an awesome linebacker in today's NFL. He was so good at pass coverage back then.
My mom interviewed when my mom was first starting out and she was a journalist. She interviewed Donnie Edwards. He's a San Diego guy.
I remember you sharing that story.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
Yeah,
that's
cool.
awesome. Then of course there's Marlon McCree, who fuck him. No, just kidding. Marlon McCree, God bless, but you couldn't have just gone down, right? Couldn't have just dropped to the floor.
You made a mistake, Marlon.
We'll leave it there. All right, hold on. Let me finish the list of running backs, and then I'll let you go.
Yeah.
I mean, even the receivers are pretty cool. Okay, I'm going to read the running backs and receivers. I'm going to read all the names, and then we'll react. All right, we got Sean Green, Javon Ringer, Donald Brown, Kendall Hunter, Noshawn Moreno. Get ready for this one. Jonathan Dwyer, McQuail Lewis. That's the last running back. Then receiver.
Okay. Oh, okay. Do you want to do running backs and then receivers reactions, or are we gonna do it all at once? Hey, go receiver.
We'll do all at once. This one will be quick. So Crabtree, like I said before, then Des Bryant, Jarrett Dillard at Rice, Austin Collie, and Jeremy Maclin.
Austin Collie. That is
one of the most random receivers Peyton Manning ever completed a pass to.
Austin Collie was actually good on the Colts and got just the most concussions
you'll ever see in your life.
I'm not mistaken that, right? I mean, he was yeah, I mean, he was like one of the guys that people started saying like, is football okay? Is this okay that this is happening? And like he really yeah, I mean, he was out multiple seasons due to concussions. I mean, he really, it was brutal. But he was actually, previous before that he was good.
It was.
Yeah, he was a good receiver. So, BYU guy. Jeremy Maclin, that's an interesting one. What's up? Jeremy Maclin, is that what you said?
Yep.
He went to
Missouri. Isn't that wild? Chase Daniel and Jeremy Maclin teaming up at Missouri. That's crazy.
Good one. Now that would be a fun segment too, is finding some like random dynamic duos
from college, right?
That'd be sick. That's a good idea. That's
We'll have to do that
for sure.
A little Johnny Manziel and Ryan Swope.
Oh yeah, Slow, holy shit. Um, who you know who the running back Kendall Hunter?
The name is so familiar and I can't put a face to it at all.
I know he's a little. He was really little for. I mean, even at that time, he was really. It was only like 5'7".
Yeah, shoot.
Yeah. So he was pretty small for an NFL guy, but OK State guy. All right, yeah, yeah. Oh, he was on the Niners. See, I was big into the Niners back then. The Niners were like my team for a hot second there. Because it was the Harbaugh Niners, and I think he was one of the running backs on the Super Bowl team.
He may have been. I know LaMike James was on that team.
Yeah.
But I think Kendall Hunter was at minimum there the year before they got to the Super Bowl, if he wasn't on that team.
Oh my God, dude. Do I have a roster for you? This might be this is the best idea we've ever had. This is phenomenal. Can we talk about this? Can we talk about this?
Let's do it.
Okay. I'm gonna give you. I might have to run through a couple of these, dude. If you have the time, I might have to run through a couple of these. This is golden right here.
Yeah, we can do that.
Okay. I'm gonna give you. This is 2011 All Americans 2011.
Okay.
This is an era that I am just so.
Are you gonna do the schools and then I'll guess?
I'm gonna do the schools.
Okay.
I'm gonna do the schools. Yeah. Okay. Quarterback. Baylor, Stanford, Southern California.
Oh. RG3, Andrew Luck, Matt Barkley.
There you go. Nicely done. Running back, a little harder now.
All right.
Alabama, Wisconsin, Oregon, Virginia Tech, Western Kentucky, San Diego State.
I gotta write those down. So we got, I remember Oregon was on there. I'll just say LaMike James right now.
Yep.
Okay. Virginia Tech was on there.
They were, yeah.
David Wilson.
Surely David Wilson. Yep. Kicked Michigan's ass in that. It was good. That Virginia Tech.
Sugar Bowl.
Yeah. Michigan won that game though, didn't they?
We did win that game. He actually had a run in that game where they were at like the 4-yard line and ran for negative 21 yards. He wound up at the 25. I remember that play very clearly.
Maybe he didn't kick ass. I just remember him being like the only player of note on Virginia Tech's team.
Him and Logan Thomas playing quarterback.
Oh yeah, interesting. I always forget that he was a quarterback.
Right.
He made a really nice little transition to tight end. I mean, he was a good tight end for a couple seasons there before.
I think he's still in Washington too. I don't know what kind of year he's been having, but
pretty sure, yeah.
So David Wilson at Virginia Tech, and then you said Wisconsin.
Okay, sorry to be completely off track, but that sparked such a core memory for me. Do you remember the 6'1" tight end that Washington had for a while?
The professional team.
Yeah. They had a tight end.
Delaney Walker.
I don't think it was Delaney Walker.
He was like 6'1".
He was like a worse version of Delaney Walker.
Not Jordan Reed.
No. Oh God, this is teeny. All right, we'll move on and circle back, and I'll figure it out. I want to say it was like Paul or something like that. Is his first name, but that always freaked me out. I was like, why are you 6'1" playing tight end? It was insane. Weird era.
Sure, Delaney Walker was 6'1", so I think that's.
Yeah, he was small. He was small for tight end for sure.
It's the only reason that comes to mind.
So we got Alabama, Wisconsin, Western Kentucky, San Diego State. Those are the remaining schools.
Alabama, Western Kentucky, and SDSU. Okay, so Wisconsin's got to be Monty Ball, yeah?
That is Monty Ball, yeah.
Okay.
Monty
Ball, Alabama, 2011. So that's got to be Trent Richardson.
Surely is Trent Richardson, yeah. That was so weird. That was so weird when the Colts traded a first-round pick. He was so good, and then he just immediately sucked.
Yeah. One of the most just kind of like random fall-offs ever.
This is why I wanted to talk about this, dude. This is a weird list of people.
See, this could almost be its own episode.
It really, God, because the defense is good too. Okay, all right. Sorry, we're gonna focus up a little bit here.
Yeah,
So we got San Diego
Western
State.
Kentucky.
The Western Kentucky one's pretty hard, I would think.
He didn't really do anything in the league.
He played for the he played from 2012 to 2017, and he was a Super Bowl champion with the Ravens. So he was one of the Ravens running backs when they won
Gosh,
the Super
so
Bowl.
was this guy backing up Ray Rice?
He must have been, yeah. That's unfortunate that
Unreal connections we are making here.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. Gosh, and
Pushing.
SDSU. Why can I not think of? Because SDSU had good running backs for so long, but I'm thinking of like Donnell Pumphrey and Rashad Penny, who obviously were way after that.
Yeah.
Um.
I can give you a hint for the SDSU one if you'd like. It's kind of a sad hint, but
Oh, it's Ronnie Hillman.
it's Ronnie Hillman, yeah, who passed away in
That is
2022.
very sad. Yes.
Yeah, that was such a bummer to hear about that because Ronnie Hillman was really, uh, he was so good. He was so good, and he died so young. And just it seemed like he was just a really good guy too. I never heard a bad thing about Ronnie Hillman, and obviously he was there. Yeah,
Yeah. Rest in peace, Ronnie Hillman.
rest in peace, big guy. So do you want the Western Kentucky guy?
Want to be able to put it. Okay, so we played for the Ravens, right? Any other teams?
He played for the Ravens, the Browns, the Bucks. That's where he spent most of his career, 2013 to 2015, and then the Giants and then the Ravens again in 2017. But again, not super.
Yeah, holy moly.
He actually was never on an active game day roster for the Ravens, but he was on the team.
Interesting. Okay, so I feel like Tampa Bay and 13 to 15 has got to be my best shot at making a guess. But I mean,
Uh,
I cannot think of a Tampa Bay running back ever besides like Doug Martin.
well, he was actually on the same team, and he had a really big game versus the Falcons when both Doug Martin and Mike James were hurt.
I'm probably gonna hear this name and get pissed. So I wanna try to get something off.
Yeah.
Oh man.
It's tough though. I mean, if you got this one, I'd be really impressed.
You said 16 was the Giants?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, shoot, that's not gonna help. Even though was that the boat pick team? Or was that the year before?
Oh, God, I don't even know.
Oh man.
The craziest thing about this is the receivers class is even more insane. So I can't wait to get to receivers because it's nuts.
All right, just because I want to get to receivers. Well, not just because I have no guess
Yeah.
still. Anyway, yeah, fire away.
What? It's Bobby Rainey.
Yeah, I wouldn't have guessed that in a million years, but
That
okay.
was if you had gotten that would have been like the best get in the history of us doing this. I mean that Bobby Rainey was a very difficult.
Yeah. I would never have gotten there. Never.
Okay. Are you ready for receivers?
I am. It's still 2012, I'm assuming.
Yeah. 2011 All American. Okay. Oklahoma State, Oklahoma, Clemson, Western Michigan, USC, Baylor, Houston. Okay, so I'll give you maybe a couple at a time here.
So Oklahoma State, Oklahoma, Clemson, Western Michigan,
Yep, USC
USC, Houston,
and Baylor.
and Baylor. Ooh. Okay. Baylor is interesting because I want to say Josh Gordon.
It was not Josh Gordon. That's a
No?
great guess, but it was not.
Ooh, that makes it a lot harder. Okay, Oklahoma State is Justin Blackman.
It absolutely is Justin Blackman. Yeah.
Oklahoma.
Wait, Justin Blackman was born in Oceanside?
Yeah, that's news to me.
I didn't know that. That's crazy. But he went to high school in Oklahoma. Maybe he's from a military family or something. I don't know. Weird.
That is pretty interesting.
Yeah, that's strange.
Well, more random, I guess, is what I was trying to go for.
Yeah.
At a certain point, you're thinking, and you just kind of zone out on the words coming out of your mouth.
Yeah. So that's Oklahoma State.
Okay, so Oklahoma State, I already Forgot that I guessed. All right, Justin Blackman. I'm
Mhm.
guessing Clemson.
Mhm.
Well, there's two potential guys. My first one is going to be DeAndre Hopkins,
It is not.
Sammy Watkins.
Sammy Watkins is the Clemson guy.
Gotcha. All right, so Sammy Watkins. Did Hopkins leave after 2010?
I think he did.
I guess I should know that, huh?
They were on the same team, and then I think Hopkins left, and then Watkins followed him the year after, right? Isn't that how that went down?
Probably, yeah. With Taj Boyd.
Yeah. Interesting.
Very interesting. All right. USC. Gonna guess Marquise Lee.
Oh, that's a great guess, but it's not Marquise Lee. This is why the receivers are so difficult here, because there were so many guys who were kind of like 1 and 2s, you know? It was not Marquise Lee.
Very interesting. All right. Well, Houston is with my guy Cliff Kingsbury, Case Keenum. That's got to be Patrick Edwards, no?
Oh, it is Patrick Edwards. That's a great poll because I never would have gotten that.
Yeah, they were cooking. They were cooking, and that's why they were at A&M the next year. Well, not
Mhm.
Patrick Edwards, but Cliff Kingsbury and Kevin Sumlin.
Yeah.
Anyway, Houston was so good 2010, 11. So
Oof.
good. Anyway,
Okay, so we got USC, Western Michigan, Oklahoma. Oh, and Baylor too.
yeah, sheesh, I'm not gonna lie, these are hard.
Yeah, they're yeah. One of them is I feel like, I could definitely give you a hint for a couple of these. One of them is kind of a sad story. Um, someone kind of dealing with some mental health issues a little bit later in his NFL career. Um, and then no, but it looks like he actually kind of pulled his life together, which is really nice to see. Because I thought he was still really struggling. One of them, I mean, the Western Michigan one is this guy had one NFL catch for 13 yards, so I would be fucking floor. He also ran a 4.69 40 as a 6 foot wide receiver, so I would be.
Yeah, that's tough.
Yeah, that is. You want me to just give you that one because that's insane. I don't know how you get that.
Not yet,
Okay, okay.
but yeah, I probably will. Yeah. Gosh, Baylor, man. I mean,
The
who was
Baylor
playing receiver with RG3 that I'm not thinking of?
the Baylor guy was a first round pick.
Well, obviously, it's not Corey Coleman.
It's not Corey Coleman, but like similar vibes.
Oh
Like actually
man,
really similar like body profile type of receiver, at least in my mind.
who did he get drafted by?
He was drafted by the Titans.
I just
Mo-
feel like every hint I get about this guy leads me to a guess that I know isn't the right answer because immediately when I think of first round pick receivers by the Titans, I'm thinking Justin Hunter. And
yeah,
it's
it's not
clearly not because Justin Hunter was 6'3".
God. Justin Hunter is so fucking frustrating to me. I wanted him to be good so bad. That was when I was just like obsessed with like monstrously tall wide receivers.
Yeah, no, I feel it, man. I feel it. Well, I mean, that's kind of all the receivers now. I feel like as well. There's so many 6'3", 6'4" guys that are super good athletes, and I'm like, oh, I'm super excited. And then like some of them get to the league, and it's like, oh, he actually has no change of direction ability. That sucks.
Dude, it's kind of fucked up that you just called out Quentin Johnson like that.
Right?
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
let's see.
Sorry. Move him to tight end. I'm sorry. Have him put on a light 15. Move him to tight end. It's not that hard.
Teach that kid how to block because he's not playing receiver. Yeah, that might be a big bust call. I'll point that out right now because I thought he was going to be good too. I fall for him. They're my siren song, the big wide receivers.
Quentin Johnson, I don't remember loving a ton, but typically, man, like anyone that can move at that size, it's just like, wow,
Italy. Yeah.
right? Gosh, these are really fooling me because Oklahoma and USC, I feel like I absolutely should be able to get.
The USC guy is still in the league. And I think he is the only guy. He's the only guy who's still in the league, actually.
That makes it that much worse.
Yeah.
Um,
And he was really good as like a second receiver, but he was never like a true number one guy.
who did he get drafted by? Well, unless he's still on the team he got drafted by, then maybe I don't need to know that.
He's not. He's
Okay.
not. He got drafted by the Bills,
Oof. In what year?
2013.
Wow. None of this is helping.
He won a Super Bowl.
With
Might give it away. You want it?
why don't you tell me? Well, would you be able to know what team his team beat in the Super Bowl?
Yeah, they beat the Bengals.
Oh, Robert Woods.
It's Robert Woods. Yeah, yeah. The Rams. That's when he was the best. When he was Bobby Trees, aka Robert Woods.
I always forget he went to USC. He does not seem like a USC guy to me at all.
I always think of it because like he played for the Rams and USC, so that's how I've always correlated it in my head. But
gosh, yeah, that's kind of surprised. All right.
So Baylor, Oklahoma are the two guys. One of them was really like RG3's number one option at Baylor. Like I feel like he was like the go-to guy for RG3. And the other one played for the Lions and was had like a decent start to his career, but then it got derailed pretty quickly.
Lions receivers with Megatron. So like what? Golden Tate.
So
But he went to Notre Dame. Golden Tate. Gosh, Oklahoma guys ending up in Detroit just feels illegal.
so this is actually interesting because I thought he played a lot more. Well, he was on the team for a couple years, but in 2015 he actually was released by the Lions per his request. And in 27 he was arrested and charged with larceny. And then became a devout Christian. I mean, he doesn't have as sad of a story as I thought. He just was kind of a bust. I think I'm thinking of someone else actually. But he now is a real estate developer in Norman, Oklahoma. So that's nice for him.
All right. Oklahoma 2011. I mean,
yeah. He only played for Detroit for a couple years. He was a second round pick, but kind of a bust. 5'10, 192, so a smaller guy.
like
Just not incredibly notable. I mean, really at all. He's the name on the list besides Jordan White and Patrick Edwards that I would say, like, especially going to a bigger school.
Is Jordan White the Western Michigan guy?
Yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah, okay. Smaller receivers going to Oklahoma in 2010-11? Who was playing QB? Landry Jones? A little too early for that?
Great question. 2011 Oklahoma.
Top 4 D.D. Westbrook. We're talking before Sterling Shepard. Talking before. Sure, that's pretty much as far back with Oklahoma receivers as I can go.
Landry. Who else was fucking playing receiver? Wait a minute. So we said 2011, right? Yeah, this is the 2011 Oklahoma team. How come he's not listed? You know who was on this Oklahoma team with him? I think, although I can't find him on the depth chart. I don't remember this guy. Okay, yeah, because he was number 85. He was a team captain on this Oklahoma team. Kenny Stills was a sophomore, and Landry Jones was a junior quarterback.
Interesting.
Yeah. That's kind of the area.
Only like Lions receiver I'm thinking of outside of like, I don't know. I just feel like every Lions receiver I think of is big besides like Nate Burleson, but he would have been drafted like early 2000s. Yeah, no, you can fire him away, man.
So it was Ryan Broyles.
I don't even know who that is.
Yeah. My apologies because I confused his story for Titus Young, who has a really sad
That was a tough one.
just couldn't. Yeah.
Is Baylor Kendall Wright?
Taylor's Kendall Wright, yeah.
All right.
I-
At least there's that.
Yeah. I want to make a couple of quick, interesting notes for the rest of this team, if that's okay with you, and then we can wrap it up.
Yeah, I mean, shoot, if there's a defensive one you think is interesting, I don't mind trying to guess one of those real quick.
Okay, let me find a defensive one because it's well. First of all, offensive line's really hard. Tight end was actually a really good class. Dwayne Allen, Orson Charles, Tyler Eifert, and Kobe Fleener, who I really liked.
Okay, I would have been able to guess the last two because Notre Dame and Stanford. But where'd Dwayne Allen go?
Clemson.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Clemson.
This is why this podcast is great. Even we get to learn.
David Castro and Kevin Ziedler, good offensive line. And there's a center from this team.
Is it a Pouncey?
No, it's not a Pouncey. All-American center in 2011, who we were massive fans of.
Oh, David Molk.
David Molk, yeah. That's your guy right there. Go Blue. Defensive end, there's a couple of tough ones in here, but it might be worth defensive tackles, not super. This is a pretty interesting linebacker class, and it's also a pretty interesting corner class. Let's talk linebackers. How about?
Let's do it.
All right. Some of these, first of all, there's a shitload of linebackers. So I'm just gonna ask you a couple of the ones that like.
Yeah, shoot. Pick 3 or 4 that it's like, maybe not giveaways, but you think I got a shot, maybe.
Tank Carter from TCU and Chase Thomas from Stanford. I'm gonna have to leave you off the list. Sorry, guys.
Chase Thomas, I might have been able to get. I was actually just watching the 2010 Oregon Stanford game not too long ago. So
oh shit. Okay. Sammy Brown from Houston too is another guy I'm gonna leave off the list.
yeah,
but
I would have never gotten that.
Okay, so let me just I'll give you 3 at a time because there's a shitload of them. So Nebraska, Alabama, Georgia.
Nebraska, Alabama, Georgia. All right, Alabama at that time. My first hunch would be. Ooh, okay, wait. Is it CJ Mosley? Is it too early for CJ Mosley?
If not CJ Mosley. This guy was better than CJ Mosley as an NFL player, I would say. And he's probably a Hall of Famer, actually. I would think. I would think he ends up as a Hall of Famer.
What? Can't even talk anymore. My mind has gone blank on anyone who's ever played linebacker at Alabama all of a sudden. Better than CJ Mosley?
This guy was really good in the NFL.
He a middle or an edge?
He's a middle. The Nebraska guy and the Alabama guy are middles, and the Georgia guy is an edge.
Yeah, I might genuinely get 0 of these.
I feel like you were big on the Georgia guy coming out in the draft, but he was kind of a bust.
That sounds like me. Yeah.
I should call you out, but I was big on him too. He was a first round pick.
I can't even think of anyone going to Georgia at that time. Sounds like Aaron Murray.
No.
That even his name? Was that even the quarterback's name at the time? Aaron Murray? Right? That was the short little guy who was playing quarterback for him for forever?
Yeah, that sounds familiar.
I'm pretty sure it was him.
What a weird time in college football. But he was like a couple first team ACCs and stuff. He was drafted by the Steelers.
Which guy?
The Georgia guy. You want him?
I mean, better than CJ Mosley.
Oh no, okay. You know what? We're switching around too much. So we should probably focus on one player at a time. The Georgia guy was in no way, shape, or form better than CJ Mosley. No disrespect to him.
Well, yeah, okay, yeah.
The Alabama guy was a consensus All-American. He played for the Patriots forever. He was only on the Patriots. 3-time Super Bowl champion, 2-time Pro Bowl.
Dante Hightower.
Dante Hightower, yeah. There you go. Okay, the other two, the guy from Nebraska won a Super Bowl and is still in the NFL.
Still in the NFL.
Still in the NFL. Pretty impressive that he's still in the NFL, actually.
And he's not white.
He's not white.
Damn it. That wasn't race-inspired.
No.
Just figured I'd clarify. I had a few guesses in my head if it was a white guy.
Sure.
I mean, I guess if you want to take that as racist, go ahead, but that's not my intent, so I apologize. Anyway, so we got Dante Hightower.
Uh-huh.
Nebraska. Who do you get drafted by?
The Nebraska guy, the Bucks.
Bucks. Middle. And he's still in the league?
And he's still in the league.
Levante David?
Levante David. There you go.
There we go. Yeah, Georgia, I'm not gonna lie. I'm pretty pretty empty on guesses.
I'll give it to you.
Go for it.
Jarvis Jones.
Yeah, that would have taken a deep reach.
Yeah. Jarvis Jones was tough. I thought it was. All right, so there's 1, 2, 3. There's 4 guys we could probably do. I'm gonna skip Emmanuel Acho. No offense to him. He's a good analyst now, but I'm gonna skip him. So there's 3 more guys, and then I swear we're gonna wrap this up. If that's good with you, if you want to do the last. All right. Boston College, Alabama, Notre Dame.
So another Alabama.
Another Alabama. This is when Bama was pretty stacked at linebacker.
And that one's not CJ Mosley?
That one is not CJ Mosley. This guy was really more of like an end in the league. And he played from 2012 to 2018. But he was a second round pick, and he was just like one of those guys who you're like, that guy is okay. He's like the type of guy that you would sign as like a free agent and be like, this guy's good. Like he'll fill in for you, but he's not someone that I think you would have built your Madden franchise around back in the day.
Gosh, 2011 Bama linebackers. I'm gonna guess the Notre Dame has to be Manti Te'o, no?
It is Manti Te'o.
Beautiful. And then Boston College, I'm gonna guess is Luke Kuechly.
Also Luke Kuechly, correct. Yep.
Beautiful. Now, Alabama linebackers, apparently when they were good, are not my expertise. So that is good to know, because I don't know why CJ Mosley is apparently the only linebacker I think ever went to Alabama. Like there's just no other linebacker that's ever played there in my mind right now.
Wow. Was okay. Just I'm gonna go ahead and apologize to CJ Mosley. I would think Dante Hightower was a better player, but I don't think I'm right about that. CJ Mosley was an All-Pro 5 times and a 5-time Pro Bowler.
CJ Mosley was genuinely probably the best linebacker in the league for a couple years.
You know what? My deepest and sincerest apologies, because A, that was a little misleading, and B, I forgot how fucking good CJ Mosley was. He was very good. Sorry about that.
To be fair, I don't know how much it would have helped me in guessing Dante Hightower any quicker, but
I suppose.
Gosh, so 2011 Bama, they had to have had like Dre Kirkpatrick, right? Obviously a DB, not a linebacker, but
right.
Just trying
he was
to
actually on the All-American team as well. And Mark Barron made it, even though he played linebacker in the NFL, he made the All-American team as a safety.
What about, was D. Milner on that team? Brought him up whatever mini pods ago.
Ooh, I think D. Milner probably was, but he might have been a little bit younger. I love that my Google results said continue browsing D. Milner. I've looked up D. Milner multiple times in my life. He would have been he would have been on the team, but a little bit younger.
Gotcha. Okay, so Boston College, Luke Kuechly, Notre Dame, Manti Te'o, Alabama. Oh, outside guys back then.
Yeah, kind of like a big edge.
Who do you get picked by?
Who did he get picked by? He was drafted by the Ravens, Falcons, Jets.
Ooh. He had a girl's name.
Look, if you stayed on this podcast this long, that was fucking hilarious, and it was worth it. That was worth it, because he absolutely does have a girl's name. He absolutely does.
Oh, what is it though? Courtney is what's coming to mind. Okay, Upshaw.
Courtney Upshaw. There it is.
Okay,
There it is.
Thank you. Thank you.
Nicely
Okay.
done.
I was about to have
Yeah,
a freaking
close.
aneurysm, not being able to know.
Wow.
I really got to thank you for mentioning Mark Barron, because I don't think until you did, I don't know why that was the trigger point, but for some reason, that was it.
Good. Kind of a fun name to say.
Right.
Yeah. All right. This is when you know we got to wrap it up, because now I'm just like, fun name guy. That guy. Like,
Yeah.
cool.
No, when you're yeah, I mean, shoot, I'm out of words to speak, so we're probably at a good stopping point. That's probably a good sign.
There you go. Well, this was a fantastic one, buddy. It was great having Soren on. It was great getting to talk college football. I feel like this one might be a multi-parter, but a fun end to this program. Looking forward to the next time. Big things coming for Rabbit Hole Sports and Media. So
Absolutely. Lots of big things. And if you want to know what we're talking about, head on over to rabbitholesports.com. Check all the stuff out there. We're growing, we're moving. If you want to help us grow, the only way our company, ourselves, whatever, are making money through Rabbit Hole Sports and Media is we just started newsletters. So if you subscribe to those, really helps us out to grow. Anyone who subscribes now is going to get their subscription made free once we grow into other platforms and areas and have the ability to do so. So please hop on over if you want to help us out in any way whatsoever. Of course, listening is already enough, but you know, it's capitalism. So we're doing our best here.
not our fault, guys. Did not design the system.
Yeah, we did not.
Yeah.
You know, fortunately, I think, in terms of keeping a positive opinion of us. But
yeah, I would say so. I think that bodes well for us. Yeah.
Exactly. All right. But anyway, thank you so much for listening, everyone. Trevor, this is always so much fun. We always get on planning like, oh, we'll go an hour. And then, you know, you're 2.5 hours in, needing to make 6 parts of the episode. And man, I wouldn't trade this time for anything else. So
I wouldn't either, my guy. This is the best part of my week. You know, it's
every
fantastic.
time.
Yeah.
Every time. All right. Once again, everyone, thanks for joining us. We'll catch you next time down the rabbit hole.
I'm Trevor Hall.
And I'm Calvin Zeljak. Thanks for joining us
Down the rabbit hole.